You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Yep, it's the world's most dangerous morning show, The Breakfast Club. Charlamagne the God, Angela Yee. Envy is still in Vegas. We got a couple special guests in the building. Introduce yourselves, players.
Henry Rock Nelson, also known as Officer Rock.
Former Officer Mick Benzo, correction officer.
Okay.
At Rikers Island?
Rikers Island.
I had Club Med, better known as Manhattan House of Detention at 125 White Street. I worked Rikers Island for approximately 2 years, and there was just too many inmates in there for me. So I knew some folks, pulled a few strings, and went to La Tumbas. It was called Club Med without a swimming pool. Only 34 inmates you watch up in lower, but I always had an extra vacancy, though.
Right now, Rikers Island is shutting down, as we have heard. What's happening?
Well, that's the plan. It's supposed to be the plan. Well, I've been in the job 20-something years. I'm a delegate for the COBA, Correctional Benevolent Association. The issue is this. The issue that I personally have is this. No one has included the officers in any of the process that's going on now. The officers are the one that's in fear. The officers are the one that has 0% control due to the system that they have put in place. Now, Department of Correction, as of this moment, is not making the decisions as far as the safety and security of Rikers Island. You have the Board of Corrections, which listens to us they give us 5 minutes per month to talk about safety and security in Rikers Island, and we're the ones that have to provide the security.
So you're saying that there needs to be a line of communication for you guys because you're there,
right?
And you see what's happening. You're saying it's dangerous for the corrections officers?
Yes. I can't protect you if I can't protect myself. See, there's a myth. There's a myth that what do you think is the average size of a correction officer?
5'6", 180 pounds.
You pretty much right.
Me.
5'6", right. 5'6", 181 pounds. And 65% of the department is female. 65% of the correction officers are female.
That ain't gonna work.
I work with grandmothers by age, not by about 60 years old. I work with people that's 60 years old, basically. And in my facility, which is RNDC, but I'm here to support all correctional officers. Their lives are in danger because you have people making decisions that know little to nothing about corrections.
Why do you think that they don't get corrections officers? I guess that could really handle the situation, because a 65-year-old grandmother, I think, would get her ass kicked in the prison, right?
Well, put it this way. There used to be, this was something I was told a long time ago when I first got on the job a couple of decades ago. The only thing that allows two officers, me and you, Charlamagne, will be working together in the housing area. We have 100 inmates. The only thing that prevents them inmates from killing us is the fear of the unknown. That is it. The fear of the unknown is gone now. That line is gone. That line is gone. They took it out of there. Officers are getting cut on a regular now. And you could tell that as a norm because it's not news no more. When the Officer Calderon got cut, it was news. Now officers get cut, no one says a thing. Female officers get beat to oblivion every day.
By males?
By males, of course, by males. By males and those in Rosie's, which is the female jail. But the bottom line is that the officers are getting constantly assaulted, but we could solve this problem if you come to us. We the correction officers, we the one that do the job.
How do you solve that problem?
Well, how you solve the problem is that you get back the control of the jails. Right now, we're at this point in which we're literally begging people to comply. We're begging. There has to be consequences to your actions. Females as well as males get urine and feces thrown on them daily. They're getting assaulted daily. They're actually in fear. Now, if I get into use of force with someone, there's pretty much 4 agencies that investigate me, 0 that investigate the inmate.
I was just reading just recently this week something about a woman who says that she was, 2 different women who came forward in Rikers Island. I'm sure you know the story. She says she was raped, or they both were being raped constantly by this other female inmate, and they said that the corrections officers knew about it, even at times provided the weapons that the woman used to assault these other inmates, but no one did anything about it until it got reported. I guess one of the inmates wrote a letter to somebody else outside of the prison, and that's how it actually came to light.
I particularly don't know about that case, but in my experience, I doubt that highly. There's cameras everywhere. And 99.9% of the COs are not trying to go to jail. The bottom line. I mean, why would I try to go to jail? Why would I do anything to ruin my family's life?
But do sometimes because, okay, so you're saying what we're discussing about the corrections officers, but there have to be times that sometimes there are things going on because you feel like you're not getting the proper backup and that things happen that you maybe let slide?
Well, there probably are people that's living in, majority of the people are living in fear right now. Mm-hmm. Most of the correctional officers are living in fear.
So they're probably scared to sometimes tell when they see things that are happening inside of the jail that shouldn't be happening. You think that causes some of the corrections officers to let certain things just go because they don't want to. I
don't believe that. I would like to believe that a correctional officer, one of our correctional officers, New York City correctional officers, definitely telling someone about the situation. As an example, you have weapons in the prisons. We have weapons right now. We have weapons that the department sees. We know that these inmates have weapons. We know they have them on their person. We have an ion scanner. They stopped us from using it. The inmates filed a lawsuit and said that, you can't scan our body, even though it's been proven to be safe. Now, why we're not implementing this, I have no idea. Mm-hmm. Why the politicians are not implementing it, I have no idea. The problem I have is that you have politicians, you have activists, you even have inmates paint the narrative of what a correctional officer is, try to make everything our issue. Now, we only could do what we can do as a human being and as officers if we are supported. We have 0% support. We have commanding officers that choose to protect their job instead of protecting the lives of the people that they're supposed to supervise. You can never lead if you're always following.
Mm. You're saying a lot of interesting things. Something that caught my attention was you said that the COs get investigated more than the inmates.
Absolutely.
But what if you're defending yourself?
Absolutely. Well, if you're defending yourself, listen, this has happened in numerous cases. I'm going to paint the perfect picture. If I get punched in my face right now, it may run up and punch me in my face right now. They're going to look at the video and see what did Officer Nelson do to get punched in the face. Mm. This is a regular occurrence. This is not any New York City correctional you were asked, that's the biggest question. If I get cut, they're trying to find any reason that you or my partner, if you was my partner, they would try to find any reason Charlemagne messed up somewhere in order to allow me to get cut. Now, there should be nothing I could say verbally that allowed you to abuse me. The same thing they would do with a female. Mm-hmm. They'll throw urine, feces on her. She's basically getting sexually harassed every day. Mm-hmm. This is nothing that's a myth. I'm surprised it's not being said.
First of all, it should be no women over a maximum security prison. Like, there should be no women COs. Like, I don't think that's not a safe space for women.
Well,
it's just not. They'll get overpowered unless they got a weapon. If you're gonna allow them to have a weapon and allow them to use it, cool.
No, use no weapon. You go inside. You have chemical agents. You have what we call MK4. And
do you think that women shouldn't be in maximum security prisons?
No, Rikers Island's not a maximum security prison. It's a jail. Actually, it's a jail. Yeah. It's a jail, and some of the best COs I work with was female. Mm-hmm. That's a fact. Some of the best females I work with are female. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but now when they start beating them up.
Yeah, the numbers are different now because it's 65% females. It's dominated by females. But I would rather have a female with heart than a big giant dude with no heart. That's the difference.
I think you got to combine the two. Especially if you're sitting there telling me that women getting beat up.
Yeah, they getting beat up. Men are getting beat
but
the problem is, the problem is this. You could look the other way.
Hold on, wait. I understand what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying, but there's certain situations where you just have to know what you're up against.
Absolutely.
It's not safe to have women as COs if they're constantly getting beat up. Like, you have to have protection for them. Right. Like, it makes no sense.
Well, that's where we go to the fear of the unknown. That's where we go back to that. Before, inmates was afraid to, if I stomp this female officer out, I don't know what's going to happen.
I might get 10 more years on my sentence.
Something might happen. Yeah. Or I don't know what the other CO is going to do. Now they know they could cross that line with her or him, and little to nothing is going to happen. You could go, we're going to rearrest. The rearrest has not worked in the deterrent. It has not worked in the deterrent. You have the Adolescent jail, as an example, which is the jail I'm working with. And they took away punitive segregation. No problem with that. You take away punitive segregation. What do you have to replace punitive segregation? Because if I could attack you with impunity, why shouldn't I? If you put a bunch of kids together and you train them that disrespecting a grown woman all day long, because that's what they do. They disrespect a grown woman all day long, expose themselves to her all day long, throwing urine and feces at her all day long. Then when you put him, when he gets released and go back into the community, he does it to somebody else's mother, they're going to kill him.
Without question.
They're going to kill him. They got a program. We set up programs in Rikers Island. This is the funniest thing in the world. We have a gardening program for the adolescent inmates, a gardening. Most the kids that I know that's there live in the projects. So we teach them how to garden. Okay, I guess they're going to garden in the projects. Okay, cool. They have video games. Okay, I guess video games going to make them become a better person. So they have PS3, PS4. Meanwhile, the kid yes. Meanwhile, the kids that's out doing the right thing probably can't afford a PS3, PS4. I've suggested them open back up the auto shop.
Yeah, teach a trade.
We had an auto shop. We had a trade there.
Yeah.
They closed that down. I suggested to open the auto shop. They thinking about it. Now, I'm not saying that it's people's intentions on destroying this department, but if I wanted to destroy the department, the way it's going now is the way I would do it. The way it's going now is the way I would do it. That is a simple fact of matter. If you don't have correction officers involved in the safety and security, what are we talking about? Because we're the ones that provide it. We don't want to get hurt just as much as anybody else. When somebody gets, if God forbid, if you get assaulted, I got to get in between that. I have to prevent that.
So now let's say that you're in front of, who is it that you would speak to? Like who is it that's making these decisions?
Well, you normally have a commissioner. You have the deputy commissioner. You have the chief of department, which I feel they should get out of. We have a acting chief of department right now, Hazel Jennings. I knew her. She knew me pretty much my whole career. I worked with her in housing areas. They need to get out of her way so she could do her job.
Now, if you could speak and say, this is what we need to do, what would you say are the things if you get in front of?
We have to get back down to the basics. This care, custody, control. Caring of the person that's there. The custody, keeping custody. Because there's a myth that we the ones that decide whether you come in and out. It's the court system that deals with who's in the court system and how long they are in our possession or not. We have little to nothing to do with it. If you get arrested, God forbid, how long you come to, we can't hold you unless they give us a document, a securing order that says we're holding you.
So COs aren't giving sentences?
No, COs can't give sentences at all.
I didn't know.
I mean, that. If we had our choice, we'd be pushing people out the door all the time. Like, hey, you know what I'm saying? This person, instead of people staying there longer than they need to stay. If you have a bail, if you set bail, we don't determine bail. We don't determine.
Sometimes people don't even know they have a bail.
Absolutely,
I've heard stories of
but
that.
see, that's up to you. That's up to you and your lawyer and your legal aid to determine that. We have little to nothing to do with that. All we do is basically hold you while you're on trial, or while you potentially go to trial, or you get bailed out. Either way, all we basically do is hold you there. Now, if you did longer than you should be, if you did for years, we have little to nothing to do with that situation whatsoever.
How did you feel when you saw the Khalif Browder story? I'm sure you watched that.
No, I watched the beginning of it, then I really didn't watch it because I live it. I don't need to watch it on TV, or I don't need to watch someone's narrative on what the situation is. Now, the Khalif Browder, which happened to be in he was in my facility. Khalif Browder, this is going to get real interesting.
Talk to me.
I'm going to talk to you right now. Khalif Browder, when he was arrested, they said he was in Rikers Island for 3 years. 3 years. In that 3 years' time, they painted a picture that it was the correction officers. And you pretty much believe that correction was the one that held him there. We had nothing to do with it. You went to the court system. The court system determined it. Why don't somebody address that issue? He wouldn't have been there that long had the court system done what it's supposed to do.
Well, I don't know that we thought that the corrections officers were holding Khalif Browder there.
Well,
we just know that, you know, the way that he was treated while he was in Rikers
Okay,
Island.
so how you believe that he was treated?
I mean, after
I mean,
watching...
from the documentary, like he was treated terribly.
Okay, now the truth of the matter is this. This is we're gonna get deep. Khalif Browder came in our facility one night. We dealt with everybody the same way we deal with everybody else. Khalif Browder got into multiple fights. Whether he was psychologically there or not is not a determination. Maybe he should have been in a mental institution. Maybe someone should have gave him treatment. for it.
But we
But I
saw
thought he was
officers.
getting
We
beat
saw
up.
officers on that video abusing him as well.
Officers, it depends on what abuse is. Officers took him down when Khalif Rao. Remember, he got into numerous fights. The fight that you see on the video, which was some of the officers that worked with me, the fight you see in the video had nothing to do with it. It had to do with him getting into a fight with another inmate, and then the house jumped on him. But if you look at the video, you see the COs is in the middle trying to get in the between that. Now, your normal instinct is not to get in
watch
between.
more of those videos.
Now,
I saw him getting his ass
right.
kicked with nobody.
You talk about the one when they took him down? Took him down. Now, if you have, this is how people must understand this. If I'm escorting someone out that's in punitive seg, he was in punitive seg, I believe, at that time, because that part is not in my facility. But if you're in punitive seg, you got to have your hands on him, because if he runs and he runs down them steps, when he hit the ground, he's gonna severely hurt himself, because the steps are steep, going straight down. So you could break off. I'm responsible for you. If I have you handcuffed, you ever try to walk down the steps with your hand behind your back? And if you try to run and you fall, there's nothing to block your fall. Mm-hmm. So that would have been an issue within itself. I have to, if I'm gonna bring you out of the cell and he's gonna break away, I got to get a hold of him. Second of all, I got to bring him down to the ground.
Gotcha.
Now I got to bring him down to the ground. It may look harder than what it is, but I'm bringing him down to the ground. I'm bringing you to the ground, holding you there till a supervisor or assistants come. Period. So we could properly escort him out, because he's agitated coming out of the cell, which tends to happen. Listen, it was never designed to be the most coziest place in the world.
It's jail.
You know what I'm saying? It's jail.
But there are some people in there who didn't commit crimes that end up. Yeah.
How do we know that?
Yeah.
But I'm saying there are, though.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with.
And there are. I also feel like there's.
Hold on,
people
that's a
that-
good point he said just now, because COs do get a lot of
How do we
blame,
know
but
that?
it's
How
not
do
your
we
fault
know
that somebody's
we don't
in
know
there.
that. All we doing
innocent.
is holding you. We
Yeah.
are paid to be, I call babysitters. Once you're in the Department of Correction, only thing you need to know how to do is count, know where your inmate is at, count time. It has to clear in order for movement. So if you know you got 100 inmates, at the end of the day, you say, I got 3 on the visit, I got 2 with medical, and I got 95 in the house. My 100 is done. If he's supposed to have 100, he need to know where his 100 men at, or his 100 women. Women, and what she did say about women working in the Department of Correction, yes, we need females to work in the Department of Correction. Don't we get ladies locked up? Ladies don't want to be housed with a bunch of men that's going to sexually abuse them later on down the road, or thinking they can get favors from the man in order for them to get extra things. So we need those females in our penitentiaries or our jails. That's a very important piece as well. But once again, the only thing we pay for is the count, make sure everything is secured. That's why it says that every 45 minutes, every 30 minutes now, all appear secured, meaning that we done checked the whole perimeter. We got an SP. He helps us look in and make sure that Charlemagne's not going to hang itself. If he looks real funny, we got to go in there, we got to talk to you, move you to a medical facility where they can talk to you at. And that's what he said. If the man is mentally ill, why are we putting him in jail? Put them in a mental institution, man. That's not our job to watch mentally ill people.
Well, that goes back to us not focusing on mental health in the black community at all, and we don't have that
Because it's
conversation.
also, how do you know somebody's mentally ill?
We don't.
Right.
They
we-
may not even know.
And another thing is, like Rock was saying, those same inmates that are locked up, we live in the Bronx.
Yes.
He live in Harlem.
Yes.
You may live in Queens. These same people are coming out the same building you're coming in. So
You
the
gonna see
only
them
thing we
later.
do, we're familiar with them.
Yes.
So why can't, go ahead, Rock.
We're the most culturally diverse department, law enforcement department in the city, period, bar none. This is what gets me, when you have politicians, when you have activists, even when you have other inmates attack us, especially politicians, you're attacking the working class of your community. Because we live in the same community. We don't just spread out. We're not from there. We from the hood. We from the same different places. Some high-ranking officials still live in the hood. Still live in the hood.
But I'm listening to y'all, and I understand everything that y'all are saying. But you have to know that there are some corrupt CEOs out there that give the good ones a bad name.
Well,
You have to know that.
that goes for every department. And I say this right now: if there was any corrupt CEOs that I know about, they're not going to be in the Department of Corrections anymore. Period. Period.
So y'all don't have the blue wall of silence that the cops got?
No, we're not having that. I don't know what the cops got, but I know what we have. The bottom line is this: if you're a danger to me, if you're bringing anybody a weapon, how I know it's not going to be in my neck? It's a danger to me. So every little picture that we painting, the bottom line is that I come from Harlem, New York. And when I've seen people that I knew. And if I personally knew you, I notified the department and said, yo, get this person out of there. Because I'm too personal with him. I grew up with him. I know him my whole life. He might ask me for something, get me highly upset. And when not, or you have people that's weak that might, that's my cousin, that's my family member. So we choose to move people out that has personal relationships with anyone. So it won't be a difference of opinion. But the getting back to the whole thing about solving Rikers Island, we had Bernard Carrick years ago. We had twice the inmates than we have now. Less the officers and less violence then than you have now. We have half the inmates now and have more violence than we ever had before. We have more. I've never heard of this many officers being slashed before. The reason why I emphasize the officers is that if I can't protect me, how am I going to protect anyone else?
Why do you think it's a rise in violence against officers now? Because of everything that's going on the outside, like with the police brutality and unarmed killing of black men?
It could be, but the narrative has been set that we're the bad ones. When the narrative gets set that you're bad, you're doing this to me, or you have the politicians, the leaders saying that the correction officer is the bad one, you're already setting the narrative. When you have a board of corrections not giving us the power that we need to enforce the rules and regulations, where normally what won't be a crime against me will be a crime against a civilian. We could be sitting in the same jail right next to each other. We could be in the same area right next to each other. If the inmate attacks the civilian, it's a crime. If he attacks me, it's a logbook entry.
You think there's too many settlements that they're paying out?
Huh?
You think there's too many settlements that they're paying out whenever?
Well, that's up to the city to decide. I don't mess with nobody's money, but that's up to the city to decide.
No, because I read that they feel like there's these accusations against these corrections officers, and a lot of times the city would just settle.
Well, if I'm in jail anyway, and if I could get money from making any allegation, I'm gonna do it. The point is that you have to understand. If you paint the narrative that the officer has no support. If I'm painting the narrative that the officer has no support, they're going to stand there. Now they're going to stand there. They're not going to react. You're going to have officers getting slapped. That's what's happening right now. You putting officers in housing areas, like I said, you putting officers in housing areas where everyone knows that 90% of the inmates have weapons. But I'm in there with my little chemical agents, and trying to look tough, saying to myself, how am I going to control this if it goes awry? How am I going to control it? You basically putting officers' lives in danger. Now, if you really want to solve this issue, you can't get control of any facility unless you involve the officers. Now, I'm going to get to the Rikers Island thing. I'm going to solve the Rikers Island thing about closing Rikers Island for you right now. There was an escape a little while ago on Rikers Island, right? Remember that escape? The inmate never got off the island. He never got off the island. We could shut Rikers Island down in a matter of minutes. The whole island, we could shut it down in a matter of minutes. The island did exactly what it's supposed to have did. The dude wasn't running down Broadway. He wasn't running down Flatbush. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't running down Fordham Road. He didn't grab nobody's child or nobody else when he got out of jail, because people even escape Alcatraz. So the Manhattan House right now, the Manhattan House that he's talking about, Manhattan House, the Queens House, the borough jails, which is they new program, the borough jails, are more out of control than it is in Rikers Island right now. The last officer got cut in Manhattan House. So if you're gonna move more jails to the boroughs, you can't even control the little ones you got right now. So that's definitely not a solution.
So what is the
solution? What are the solutions?
Yeah, what are the solutions?
That's what I want to like. What do you two want to see happen?
The solution, what I want to see happen is that you give the power back to the officers that we had during the Bernard Carrick era. This is what we did. We gave instructions. We had somewhere for the inmates to go. In the fact that if I was assaulted, I don't just give them a strong look and let them walk away, because that's all you could do to the adolescent inmates. You have to come up with something before you start taking things away. They took away the punitive segregation, which I have no problem with. If you're going to take it away, but at least put something in place. Something tangible.
So you really can't do anything if an inmate slaps you or attacks you. There's just nothing.
No. If I punch Charlamagne in the face right now, and he's an officer, and I turn my back and put my hand against the wall, I can't do anything. If he cuts me, if he cuts me right now, if Charlamagne cuts me, and he turned around and dropped it and put his hand on the wall, I can't do anything.
Damn.
At all.
That's not even realistic.
Anything at all. That's expected. Whether it's realistic or not, this is a fact. I'm giving you one as a fact. No chaser.
So is there someplace they can go to get more information on this, or something they could, I don't know, write to? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to see what y'all trying to accomplish.
You have to write to your politician. You have to write to your elected official that's in the communities. Because, see, I believe this. If I'm a politician and I can't solve what's going on in the court system, whether it be police brutality, correctional brutality, or even the court system, if I can't start with correcting the court system, and I know you're my constituents, let me go to the soft target. Let me go to the correction officer and say, hey, they're not doing their job. They're not doing their job. Instead of me saying that I need to implement and put things in place in the court system so my child won't be in jail for a long amount of time. He won't get a huge bail that he could never afford. You got a right to a speedy trial. But I've yet to see someone with a speedy trial. Mm-hmm. And you go, what is a speedy trial? Speedy trial, sure enough, is not a years, not 2 years, not 3 years. It's not. It doesn't make sense. And then they get frustrated, like the Khalif Rowell. He probably was frustrated. He's in jail. He said they took a book bag, whatever the situation may be. But as a human being, I'm being locked away. I feel it's unjust. Okay. A month go by. A couple of weeks go by. 2 months go by. Now you get to the year. Now I'm bitter. Who's the person I can lash out at? The correction officer. Yeah. That's the only target I can get.
Correction officers and other inmates.
Yeah, other inmates. Those are the only people I could lash out at. So you have to start with the court system, because the correction officer is not the beginning of the situation, and we damn sure ain't the end.
Right. So let's get these people through that court system, get their trial started a lot faster. Let people know when they have bail somehow.
Yes. Well, you have to start with the court system first.
And there's a lot of people who can't pay for their bail, so they end up having to sit there also.
Right. Well, that's an issue they have to address. I hear they're addressing that issue now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Addressing that issue now. But you can't like, put it this way. When they set the narrative that Khalif Rowell died because of Rikers Island, because of corrections, it upsets me because my brother died in jail. My brother was murdered in jail. I have the pictures every day of him. I watch it every day before I go out my house. Every day. And I know for a fact, if he was on Rikers Island, he'd be alive today. Plain and simple as that. Murder. It's nothing like seeing the straight up murder scene. They painted, my mother had us go through the whole court system, this and that. And there's nothing like watching, being that I'm a correction officer, it's a hell of a thing to see your brother murdered in jail and the whole crime scene and everything that encompasses it.
So you can see where they went wrong.
He was a corrections officer?
No, he was an inmate.
Okay.
My brother was an inmate.
So you can see where the corrections officers failed your brother.
Yes, you can. You can see where the corrections. You can see many things. You can see the flaws. You can see a lot of different situations. But jail tend to be a violent place because you put in what society deemed. Okay, society has deemed that while you go into court, we're not going to put you in. We're not going to have you in society. We're going to put you in jail. Now, we combine that with 100. We combine that with 200. We combine that with 300. But then you take away a lot of the tools. You take away a lot of tools that the officers have to control certain situations. This when you create a problem. We're creating a problem that doesn't have to be. If we have twice as many inmates years ago than we had now, and we have more control. We have less inmates now, less control. The officers' hands are tied. Their hands are tied, which is a danger to not only the correction officers, but to any person with their family in the New York City correction system.
So basically, y'all are here today to say that COs aren't the bad guys and y'all need more resources to properly do your job.
Absolutely. And we need
some input.
And we need, how can you not, input. Okay, we're going to go to a hospital. We could say we're going to reform the hospital, right? We go through the hospital. We talk to everybody but the doctors. That's what they're doing right now. That's what's going on with corrections right now. And shame on those who have the authority or have the rank to say, no, this is not going to work, but choose to save their job instead of protecting the officers that you were in command of. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Now, how can people find you guys to reach out to you if they want to comment on any of the things that you've said?
With me, they can go to home. I got Mick Benzo. Yeah, Mickey.
They can use payup100@gmail.com. That's all. PAYUP100@gmail.com.
All right, that's Mick Benzo.
Yeah.
Corrections Officer Rock. Thank y'all for coming.
Thanks for having us, Charlamagne.
Absolutely.
This was important, Angela Lee, that our listeners get to hear this, man. Like I said, I was a former correction officer. The reason I quit, because I was one of the bad ones. That's all.
You was one of the corrupt ones.
Discredit, and that's what you said. There's discredit. When you find yourself doing that, bail out. If you don't want that job, then quit. And that's what I did.
It's not an easy job.
Now I feel like that
Not
about
easy job.
CEOs
I don't
and
want
police officers.
anybody in there that's gonna violate.
Word, that's real. All right, it's the Breakfast Club.
Peace.